And we are on. Good afternoon, everyone. Um, got a exciting show this afternoon dealing with stopping the violence in the community. Now, you know we have our issues in Durham with the violence that's plaguing our community, but want to bring another perspective, somebody who's actually organizing in their city. In this case, Charleston, South Carolina. Our brother Justin Hunt in Charleston, South Carolina, who's going to share with us his techniques and what they got going on in Charleston. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. Brother Justin Hunt. Good evening, brother. Good afternoon, rather.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Justin Hunt. That's what pretty much everyone knows me by. But I also go by Chuck King. That's my Facebook alias, but ended up being in the community as well. People say, "Ain't you Chuck King?" And then it kind of rolled from there. Um, I am a native of Charleston, South Carolina, a descendant of the Gullah Geechee Nation. You can trace my
Mm,
lineage back to the early 1700s. Um, my position in activism is I'm one of the moderators, one of the many moderators of the South Carolina Black Activist Coalition, which was founded January 2020. And that's just a collective of Black kings and queens across the state. Out of the 1.7 million we have, we're trying to unite everybody for some common purposes. And just a servant to the community.
okay. Now, how long have you been doing that? Engaged in this work?
I've been in activism right after George Floyd. I never really been into activism before that.
Mm,
It started off as being into the Black Lives Matter movement, but that engaged um, me to intrigue and self research
mm.
and knowledge. So I started picking up books. I started to speak with elders and realized that it was a way bigger mission than that. And so I started off in like May, once it was like May 2020. And pardon me, the coalition got founded in January of 2021.
Mm.
Um, that's how long we've been around as far as a collective. But yeah, right after George Floyd is when I started getting involved in the community.
Okay. And what books inspired you?
Oh man, I'm a huge Garvey. Philosophies and Opinions on Marcus Garvey was
Mm-hmm.
the first. I started off like YouTubing him. I didn't find out who he was until 30. I was literally 30 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and I started YouTubing him, and then I that was probably the first book I actually like really picked up and dug in. Paul Robeson is another person that I like to engage into. Asada Shakur,
Mm-hmm.
um, mainly just Black American revolutionaries, but I look across the diaspora as well. Um, but definitely Garvey, his speeches, but that's philosophy. You know, I think I read it at the right time.
Indeed. Have you read Race First, Dr. Tony Martin?
I have not. Okay.
That's probably the best book about the history of Garveyism, Dr. Tony Martin, Race First.
Okay.
Um, I think it's a three-volume work that I've only skimmed through, but
Mm-hmm.
they had it at our library in Durham before it shut down for repairs called The Garvey Papers by Robert Hill. And people say that's the definitive collection. I think it's 3 volumes. That's the definitive collection of his writings, The Garvey Papers, Robert Hill.
Wow. Okay. I definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, so yeah, Garvey is one of my heroes as well. Read quite a bit about Garvey, pro and con, because I think that one of the things that we have to do in the community, we have to look realistically at our heroes and sheroes and realized they were human because we put these
Mm-hmm.
lofty ideas out there to people. I know you can respect that dealing with the street element. We put these lofty ideas that they were some, sent from heaven, and they weren't.
Mm-hmm.
They had flaws, they had shortcomings, they had disappointments, because a lot of times our people get engaged in activism and they think every day is going to be sunny. They're going to be able to go out there and wave a red, black, and green flag and everybody's going to salute. No. And, people want to think that it's going to be a money making opportunity and you're going to get rich and you're going to die famous. No, Garvey died
Mm-hmm. Not rich.
in
That's all.
isolation, died in England,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen this only in one place. It's a book called, I have it on the shelf, called Garvey's Children. According to Garvey's Children, the father of black nationalism had had to get two white roommates when he died.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that to say there's a sacrifice, or as Queen Mother May Jackson would tell me, there's a commitment that goes along with it. It has to be bigger than self. It has to be bigger than
I'm gonna
self.
jump in real quick.
Yes, sir.
When I said I think I found him at the right time, I definitely mean that, because when we started the South Carolina Black Activist Coalition, I was already an activist.
Mm,
And what I got frustrated with is I was leading these marches, and I had done no research. I didn't even know who I was.
mm,
I just knew that we were being oppressed, and I felt like I needed to do something. I was leading these marches of hundreds of people, but it'd be like 15 black people and 100 white people.
mm,
And not that, it was anything, because they were in support, but I was like, where are my people at?
mm,
And as a young man, I got frustrated. And then I saw other kings and queens in other cities, in Columbia, in Greenville, in Spartanburg, in Rock Hill, fighting the same fight that I was fighting.
in Durham, North
So,
Carolina. But go ahead.
yes, sir. I took the initiative to reach out to like-minded in the cause of fighting people to unite our state. I actually Googled the population in South Carolina of African descent. It was 1.7 million. And I said, man, if we can just get on some type of page, we can do a lot more than what we are begging for. So I did that. And thankfully to this day, the moderators and the people that we reach out to are still in the coalition fighting till this day.
Mm,
But imagine doing all that, then finding Marcus Garvey, finding a brother that had the same mission and actually did it. I knew nothing about that when we first started.
mm,
I knew nothing about the power of our people, because I kept thinking, man, our people definitely can come together. We're a lot stronger than how we acting. And that is what made me so amazed with Honorable Marcus Garvey. Now, you're right. There were some faults, and he was human. But the end goal agenda is what I fell in love with. The
mm,
fact that we all can come together for ourselves, and it is Africa for the Africans. And no
mm,
matter what, we have a sense of identity that we need to reproclaim. And I feel like that's what the coalition does. To be a member of the coalition, you just have to be black, period. Now, we don't really mess with a lot of sellouts. And, that's one of the rules but other than that, we have the NOI, we have churches, we have the streets, we have contractors, we have welders, we have plumbers, we have nurses, we have doctors, all under the same, maybe not a flag. Well, we do have a flag. We actually have a flag,
mm.
but under the same umbrella.
You have your own
And,
flag?
yes, we have our own flag. I can
All right.
actually send it to.
That's important.
Yes, it's on our. If you look at the South Carolina Black Activist Coalition page on Facebook, it's our background picture. And it's our flag. It's a self-development flag that was made by a young king, and it's a palmetto tree with the red, black, and green.
Mm,
And then you have the Moorish. It's like an emblem. It's a mixture of the African American heritage flag and the RBG flag.
mm,
And our generation just kind of thought to put those together as the two movements that kind of stood for what we're fighting for now
mm,
and within our state. But that flag was made right after we self-proclaimed ourselves as South Carolina Black Activist Coalition.
mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned earlier about the European involvement, and
Hmm.
people would frown on that, but strategically, if you look at even Garvey, if you read Garvey's history, this is why Race First and those other books are important because it talks about the history. Garvey had white involvement early in Jamaica, financing. People don't talk about that. You talking about the Black Panthers, heavily white
Hmm.
financed. I'm reading a book now about the Shakur family. I just got it from the library. The name escapes me, but I'm reading it right now. Talks about how, according to this author, he said that there were even white people in the Black Liberation Army. I've only seen that once. I haven't cross-referenced because as a researcher, I try to get three sources:
Yeah.
pro, con, and neutral. Pro, con, and neutral. I've only seen that once, but that's his allegation, among other things. But yeah, but there's the way that we think things are going to be romantically and the way things actually are. Because the condition of our people is a lot of times our people won't move until they see white faces letting them know it's okay. That's just reality.
You're
That's
going to dig into history here, man. So before the coalition was founded, I still have, if you look on my page, I have a very large white following.
mm-hmm.
And the difference is, I had that when I first started activism. So when I made the coalition, it was several uncomfortable predicaments.
Mm-hmm.
The group is only black. You
Right.
had all those white people. Well, why does it have to be only black and everything like that? My focus was, no matter what, we're in a community. We have to create a safe space for our people.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing for me, is for people of other races who do want to support and that do support now, is just understanding that it's okay for us to have a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
Because in history, whenever we did that, it's like, oh, you can't do that. But
Right.
every other race. And the only way for us to help ourselves is to build back that sense of village and that sense of self-love and stuff. So what we do now in the coalition, everything's black-led, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll see us, if we ever do a protest, we don't really do a protest as like it's something real and we stepping. You have hundreds of allies out there and comrades out there that support. The leadership is black. You know, and the developments and the plans that we do is black. If you want to help, you're helping out of the kindness of your heart. You're not leading anything. And I think that that's the relationship that this state has. And we've been able to develop a strong relationship in that, as well as a strong level of respect. And the allies that I have no filter with. And we've got a group here in Charleston called the Owls. They're the Old White Ladies Against Racism.
Mm.
And they've been around and they do what they do, but they come to community events and stuff like that and they'll help out. But I'm unfiltered with them as well. And I think that that's just part of education. You know, you can't take what I'm saying without me having to butter it down,
Mm-hmm.
then I can't really expect you to help in any type of way. You know, I'm not rude about it, but I'm extremely blunt, you know?
Yeah, Mr.
So,
Garvey taught us that, not to cut you off, brother, but Mr. Garvey taught us that
yeah.
a strong man is strong everywhere.
Yes,
In other words, if you
So
don't change your position, you got to be 100, 10 toes down wherever you go, whatever room you walk in. Garvey said, a strong man is strong everywhere. But continue, brother.
but yeah, so we have that relationship, and I think that that has helped with our growth. Like I said, the coalition's about we almost like 3,000 people strong,
Oh, wow.
and a lot of these people that are in the coalition have nonprofits that are across the board, or they don't got a nonprofit. They doing something working with other people. It's yes, we are inclusive,
Mhm,
but that's our right. That's our safe space. The coalition is nothing but a safe space,
mhm.
you know, and that has been needed. I think that's needed in every community because, like I said, when I was marching out here with 500 people in Charleston, wasn't many of our people, and I felt like they didn't feel comfortable, you know. So we have a great relationship with our allies in the city, across the state, honestly. But I definitely think that it's opened their minds to respect our safe space as well. And I think that that's a huge step, you know, as far as making things better and understanding what the real problems are.
Indeed.
Because you got a lot of allies that love to overspeak that mic, man.
Yeah.
And I was checking them every step of the way.
Mhm.
If you don't know what we've been through, don't speak for us. I'm big on that. Don't speak for us. Let us speak for ourselves. So my
That's the
first year in the movie was checking off. So we came a long way.
that's the chance that Frederick Douglass had with the abolitionists. Um,
Hmm.
Frederick Douglass, they wanted Frederick Douglass to be a so-called porch monkey. They
Hmm.
just wanted him to be the face of the movement. They told Douglass, the abolitionists, said, "Don't talk. We just want you to be the face. We don't want people to know how intelligent you are." Um,
Yep.
uh,
Hmm.
Frederick Douglass said, "No." He said, "Those who suffered the wrong are the ones." To paraphrase, those who suffered the wrong need to address the wrong. But yeah, brother, I feel where you're coming from because there's theory and there's practice. You can do a lot
Yeah.
of things in theory that you want it to be just like A, B, and C. But when you actually move in 3,500 people, practice is a whole different ball game.
Hmm.
So recently, you all brought together street organizations, street tribes, gangs. Tell us about that event and what happened.
Back. So we're gonna dig a little bit. Number one, I'm not from that type of environment. I grew up a PK, to be honest with you, I was a church boy, and I come from a city that really gets down on each other, and it's depressing. I think the worst part of joining activism was seeing and being around so many crying mothers that I've had to see.
Oh wow.
Out of everything in activism, Black Lives Matter, all that stuff, the crying mothers, because I normally try to make every incident that happens in my city, and I connect with those families. And you can ask those families years down the line, I'm still there, but it hurts. And that's the worst part of activism is what's going on then. But what I realized is I didn't have the tools to help these kids. I could be active, I could be things, but I didn't know what these kids were going through.
Right.
And the OGs, they did, but they couldn't get any support because they got judged. Church folk, everybody else want to judge them
Mhm.
instead of listening to what they got to say. So that was the first step that we made. And because we had that coalition, we got Brother Mark and a couple other brothers, we was able to open up that dialogue with actual people who've been from the streets, real people with heavy names, and bring that to the table on what we can do to help out our youth. And it's working. It's a slow process, but people seeing that is another narrative.
Mm.
It's a different narrative than what we are, because all you want to hear is about firearm reform as a solution,
Right.
and that's
Right.
not a solution.
Mhm.
And instead of addressing the root issues, so bringing the tribes together is nothing more but the tribe are coalition members. Again, you go back to the root. The only requirement to be in the coalition is that you are black. So we should have took the word activist out, but we didn't know we was doing it, and it got founded that way. But it's not. I don't want people to think that it's activists only. We are talking about your general, everyday brother and sister under that flag, and uniting those. It's a powerful way to take back our community because you need the streets. It takes the streets to save the streets. It takes the hood to save the hood, and you got to have a relationship. You know, you got mentorship groups, and that's great. But a lot of these mentorship groups, they taking the kids. I can speak in my city. They taking the kids that got two parent homes,
Mhm.
and it's more like performance based. You know, these kids already making good grades. These real kids in these real conditions, nobody want to mess
Mhm.
with. You know, and that's our focus and where we're trying to go. So it was the united of everybody, and when it's ran by us, we can get people to be civil in our environment. Because you there for your grandma, your sister, your cousin. You know, you black too at the end of the day, no matter what tribe you from. So like I said, I can't speak for the streets, but I can speak that we are one people, and when we out there as one people, just be on that code. And that one was in Columbia. We
Mhm.
used to do a lot of work in Columbia. We got one coming up in Charleston on August 19th, and
Mhm.
that's my city. And that is going to be real powerful, man, because again, we got a lot of different tribes in the coalition, but to come together for one cause is what we're trying to do and what we're going to do.
So you're doing a
That's what
Black
it is.
Owned thing. That's around Garvey's birthday too, right?
Yes, yes, it is. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the date we said.
Black August, man. That's George Jackson.
Oh
He
yeah,
celebrated Garvey's birthday. Yeah, a lot of stuff happened in August.
yes sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Um. So you said that the street tribes you brought together were already part of the coalition, pretty much.
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, I can say this: a lot of street tribes are a part of the coalition.
Mhm.
I won't put too much out there, but
Okay,
we go
don't.
on a lot of search and rescue missions, man. You
Oh, wow.
know, you've seen the coalition boots on the ground looking for missing kings, missing queens,
Wow.
and stuff like that. We got brothers with us, bro. You know, we active. You know what I'm saying? We really trying to find these people, and we have found people. Or when it's coming to feed the community, I'm not just gonna pull up in your community with a bunch of food and act like I don't know nobody.
Hmm.
I'm coming to have a conversation. Sometimes I'm coming to ask permission, man, you know, or trying to have a relationship, you know. And I think a lot of brothers see that and they're like, all right, well, cool. And I ask them, man, you want to come help, you know?
Hmm.
And my mission is so global that I, I, I ain't taking no sides and stuff, you know?
Oh, wow.
It's more about a global mission. So, like I said, any brother and sister is welcome. So yeah, they'll brothers and sisters from different street tribes will come out to our food giveaways. They'll help. They ain't coming to watch. They actually giving out. You know what I'm saying? They actually picking up, unloading trucks and stuff like that. Or shoot, whatever. We got the new Black Cross. They may help with healthcare or different things. So when these searches get down to, we have a lot of support, man. The whole community, the whole block come out. If we call for a search, the whole block come out. So it's not even a street tribe thing. It's like we in that community, like we're activists that are a part of the actual community rather than the outside community. Yeah, we at school board meetings and we at county council meetings and stuff like that. But the community is dependent on us to bring back that information or tell them what they need to do to
Mhm.
make things better right there at home. So yeah, that's kind of how that works.
Mm. What is your position on the idea of the streets? Because you mentioned something. You didn't say the word, but checking in. When you go to different communities, you got to check in. What's your opinion of Black people always got to check in with other Black people, But when the gentrifiers come through the hood and take over the hood, they don't check in with nobody. They just come in and take over. Any thoughts
Fact.
about that?
Oh yeah, a lot of thought. So we fighting the wrong enemy. That's the reason. You know,
Mhm.
it's fighting the wrong enemy. You know, I had to learn that before the streets is my first ally when it comes against the enemy. You know,
Mm.
and I had to build a relationship with that way. But again, if they don't know you, of course it's going to be that type of party. You know, and when I say check in, I wouldn't say I'm coming in there to ask permission, but I'm coming there to be respectful
Okay.
and see what's got going on. Um, what we trying to do right now, we know we can't stop all the violence. But back in the day, there used to be a code, bro. Like kids, kids was off limits, women, elders was off limits, and these children these days is no code.
Mhm.
We had a shooting in Colombia. 17 people got shot in the mall,
17?
and 17 people from like 13 to 77
When
in
was this?
Columbiana. This is in Columbiana Mall last year. This is when Gangs and Peace got founded. This is when the brothers finally stepped up and they founded this organization. But the craziest part about that is dude was the dudes were 4 feet away from their target. They ain't hit him. They hit 17 people, but they ain't hit him. So that goes to show you there ain't no kind of it's renegade, bro. It's straight renegade. So we have to communicate to these elders to try to bring some type of structure to keep our community safe. Like that's the first step.
Mhm.
And then, as you said, these gentrifiers coming from a city that has been gentrified like crazy, they come in and they do whatever they want. You know, and I'm gonna just be very vague on that. That's because there's not enough leaders,
Mhm.
and you know I'm gonna keep that at that part. But you know, um, any community, you don't even got to be quote unquote. Because I hate when people say that communities are dangerous. That's like my pet peeve. Like because you can go to different blocks down here, and the city will make it look like it's the you can go to a grandmother for something to eat, and she gonna feed you, bro. You know,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. They forget that you got citizens in this community, you know, and people. So that's my biggest focus. But until we can become self-governing, and to a point, even though we are under this system of oppression, until we can govern ourselves as far as safeguarding our community, and the best way to do that is having conversations too. You got to have
Mhm.
conversations. You know? So that I know that's vague, but you know, no matter where I go, I speak to people. I'm not an activist that just pop up and do stuff and not talk to people. You know, I'll go into the rural areas. We got coalition members in the rural areas of the country. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna communicate with them too. So I guess that's my version of checking in. So just letting them know what we're doing. Hey, we feeding the people. We having food drive. Y'all want to come through? Y'all want to help out? You know, or this elder is facing some heat. They harassing this elder. I went through a situation like that not too long ago. I'm like, bro, like this old lady is being threatened by racists that she pushing the school board. Like, why am I even having to come up here? All y'all brothers on the block. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And this old lady going through this stuff. You know, I'm gonna leave it vague, but you get what I'm saying. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Um, but as far as the gentrification thing, that is, I think, part of the plot. When in cities they talk about how bad an area is, so they scare the people out. They say, "Okay, your area is bad." Then they buy their houses, scare the elders, buy their houses dirt cheap, then flip them, and then
Mhm.
overnight that so-called bad community has Starbucks open, and
Yep.
you know, people walking around with coffee and poodles literally the next day.
Hmm.
So that idea about, you know, a bad neighborhood, that's fixed overnight. I've seen even in my city when they wanted to so-called clean up a community, they brought in them people and they did it overnight and then leveled the community. So yeah. So
Bro,
back to the,
if you downtown Charleston and you come out of the community, our community, and you look across the street, you'll see Starbucks and like you'll see these expensive behind condos. It's insane because in the 80s, even though I wasn't here, you got pictures of kids like riding their bikes on the block, with their families and stuff like that. And they use that danger syndrome to gentrify, to try to, man, I'm gonna get deep. They use that to convince us of certain things, and they do it in the church too. They go straight to the church, especially down here. So you use big pastors. You got some pastors that I'm cool with, and you got some pastors that I've cussed out because I've seen it. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it. Like you going with the oppressor, and we fighting with the oppressor trying to do. Take education. They wanted to a private group wanted to take over 23 quote unquote Title I schools. And Title I schools in South Carolina and in Charleston are the predominantly black schools, and they wanted to take over basically ownership of them and operations of them. It was all a plan to push us out. And when we started bringing fire under the city about it, the first people they went to was the pastors, bro. And we was on every pastor's door, like, nah, you're not about to lie to our people like that, And thankfully, it didn't go through. But like I said, they attack in different ways. You gotta read and you gotta be educated. You gotta listen to the elders sometimes. The elders can't come out there and stomp their feet no more, but they dang should be paying attention. Trying to put you on game and stuff.
Yeah, the pastors down there ever try to steal your ideas?
Man, I think these pastors down here like, no, we got pastors that we rock with and we got pastors that we cussed out. It ain't really like no mid ground. I wouldn't say steal our ideas because like I'm not gonna say they don't do anything. If you're not in the church, they ain't coming to help you. They scared to go into the community. And I got mad one time, bro. Real story. After that 17-person shooting incident, I made a call through the coalition for brothers to come out so we can hit these communities. And the NOI immediately sent me 10 people. Immediately. Now, I guess you can call me a Christian. That's a whole other conversation. I grew up in the church. Let's say that, And I was ashamed because it's like I make a call and the NOI bring me 10 brothers, but we got these huge churches and I can't get 10 brothers to come out with us on any day. And that's a problem with me. And I let them have it. You know what I'm saying? So if you ain't outside, they not coming out. And that's the problem. There's some small stuff, but we have to give into the 501c3 agenda and all that other stuff.
There's a book that Charleston White suggests that everybody read about nonprofit organization called The Revolution Will Not Be Funded. I saw a Charles White video and he said we should read that book. So I start reading it. It's some deep stuff, bro. They call it the nonprofit industrial complex. There's some deep stuff in that book.
I study revolutionary pastors because there was some pastors that was about that smoking, and I'm a huge fan of the Deacons of Defense. But nowadays, man, it's almost like we got to beg these brothers to come out, and that's why we take that church out of you and make you a coalition member. Because once you a member, we don't got to listen to that. You got to follow this. You know what I'm saying? So whether you go to church, that's your business. But when the coalition calls, you expected to do that. And that's how we handle that situation of getting the brothers outside of the church. Even if it affects their comfort zone sometimes.
Cool. Let me ask you this, brother. One of the biggest challenges with organizing the streets is what rules or guidelines are put in place when you're dealing with that street element. I'm saying that to say that are we, because I know that allegedly Matula Shakur and Tupac worked on the Thug Life Code. And it was basically doing basically what you said, their rules and regulations. But in a perfect world, I would say even in the real world, there's a quote from a Public Enemy album I always listen to. It says, right versus wrong, good versus evil, God versus the devil, which side you on? So there comes a time, I guess, in every man's life, he just got to choose between uplifting our people and genocide. Are we saying we're going to only shoot in certain neighborhoods? Are we saying we're only going to shoot? We're not going to shoot black people. Are we saying we're not going to commit genocide on people on any level? What are the rules and regulations? Now, you don't have to go into details, of course, but just on a basic schedule, I know you probably come against that contradiction as well. When you're dealing with a street element who has money invested in the genocide of our people, how do you work around that contradiction?
So the first rule, I can't speak on everyone else, but we don't have no power to make demands in these communities. That's not what we about. We ain't coming in there, but like, y'all gotta do this, y'all gotta do that. We don't have that power.
Right.
We militant, but we dang sure don't have that power. Plus, I ain't got time to be fighting my own people.
Right.
It's mainly about requests. You know what I'm saying? And communication rather than demands. Because again, we don't have that power. We don't have it. The second part is you got OGs that do run their blocks, that do run. When I say big blocks, I mean like they are known in their community from helping people to do and all that other stuff. These youngins, they ain't on code with no side, bro. Like that's how bad it is in this city. Like this is Charleston, this is Columbia. Like trust me, I don't think most brothers want grandmothers being shot and grandmothers have been shot. Little kids being shot and little kids have been hurt, It's like, but because it's not even about code, because I know a whole bunch of these big brothers out here that are cool, and stuff like that. Now they helping their communities and stuff, but they'll listen to them a lot more than they'll listen to me. And that's the biggest code that we trying to be on. You see what I'm saying? We trying to give them a platform to where they can reach the youth, because they're gonna hear about the youth if they come through us. Because the coalition got so much stuff going on, whether we in the community, whether we at the schools, or we just around everywhere. So we just trying to give the older OGs a platform to reach the youth, but it ain't about like a demand. I mean, I did a press conference one time, and we put signs up in barbershops, and it was like a code, and the code requested no public places, no around no youth. We had an incident down here in Charleston at a party, and I want to say like 15 youth got hit. One lady was pregnant; she had to have an emergency C-section. I mean, stuff like that, man. No youth, no women, no elders. But again, it's just a request. We call it a code because we want people to stand on it, But it's more about and that's what Gangs and Peace is about too. They got a lot more leverage to reach these guys because some at a point in time they might have been their big dog. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. Compared to just us or preachers or anybody else trying to reach these kids. Like that's not gonna work just in itself. You gotta work together, you know what I'm saying? And the brothers that get out, the brothers that, have been through that stuff, they got good ideas. I wanna say that too. They got great ideas, and people just gotta listen to them. Churches need to listen to them and give them what they need to help these kids, man, because it is no code. They ain't even listening to the OGs like that. They don't got, it's a whole different level than how it was.
Good points. Good points. Yeah, because I'm always curious about the structure and what kind of universal codes do we put in place or in our communities? Kwame Ture tried to organize everybody. Kwame Ture said every Negro is a potential black man. Every Negro is a potential black man. So he tried to organize everybody. Now, let me ask you this heavy question. There are, I study COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program. A lot of people have seen the movie who haven't even studied COINTELPRO, Judas and the Black Messiah. Anytime people are trying to do something good, there's always an element, even internally, that tries to sabotage what's going on. Have you had any experience with that? And if so, how did you navigate around it or circumnavigate around it?
Man, I'm still trying to navigate around it. What you mean? I don't know about the COINTELPRO stuff. I feel like I'm not saying this to bash COINTELPRO, but I feel like there's a lot of cap because a dude who has no following is doing like 2 programs and no one knows him in the community. Where's the guy? He's under COINTELPRO, and that is weird because you got people that lives are really wanted. You know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. But as far as the code, we stay on structure, we stay on point, especially with our leadership. And not everybody got to know you a coalition. That ain't everyone's business, Marcus Garvey said it's our personal business, our indirect, it was like our inside business or something like that. He said that in a speech, So not everybody got to know that you're a member. You can help the coalition, you could be like a nurse or something, or you could be like I don't know, there's a lot of different positions you can do just to help the coalition. It ain't everybody's business to know you're a coalition member as long as you're doing the work, because they always going to want to know. There was an article put out on me like 2 years ago. Project Seacoast, the Coast Guard was spying on me in my documents and stuff like that, And yeah, it's public record. In the sheriff's department.
Coast Guard?
Yeah, Project I think it's Project. You have to Google it. It's like Project Seacoast or something like that.
Coast Guard.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new one. I thought I did every angle. What business would the Coast Guard have with you?
It was through the sheriff. The sheriff. We was making demands for Small Sutherland, the king that was murdered in the sheriff's department. He was going through a mental health crisis, and they took him to jail for the mental health place. And then he had to go to a bond hearing, and they tased him to try to get him to go to the bond hearing, and they tased him to death just to go to a bond hearing for a mental health crisis, and he wasn't even supposed to be in there. But they had like all our records and stuff like that, conversations, stuff like that. And I did a press conference in front of her doorstep asking for accountability because here's the wild thing, bro. She has my cell phone number. That sheriff has my cell phone number. So it's like, yo, why you spying on us, and stuff like that. But COINTELPRO can come in so many different ways, bro.
Yeah, not to cut you off, brother. I'm trying to, because I've never heard in my state of the Coast Guard, because the Coast Guard and the sheriff, that's kind of like crossing.
They had Project. I'll send you the link when you got the phone, but Project, I don't know if it's like Seacoast or something, but everybody from Charleston knows what I'm talking about. And it was like the operations center and the Coast Guard that tapped in through them together. I wasn't the only activist that got hit now. It was like a lot of us from Charleston. It was like, and it was 2 state house representatives too. Wow. And she got it. Oh, yeah, all this is on she got it was 2 state house representatives, me and like 2 other activists. But when they started, when you got a good relationship with the media too, they gonna put you on game too. They ain't gonna hold all that information before they drop it. They gonna let you know what's going on too.
That's true.
And when they put the documents out, it was like the whole squad, bro. It was like people we don't even talk to. Like they was operating and stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying. Like people that talk about COINTELPRO, like they ain't even being watched. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
They just type,
Compared to
like you said, they typing something on Facebook and smoking weed and all paranoid. I'm like, people like, what
yeah,
you
like
on your phone tap? Why? You ain't doing nothing. Yeah. Go
you
ahead.
ain't doing nothing, bro. So it's like no matter what, you gotta stay on code. And everything we do is work. So honestly, like, yeah, they want to know. We not hiding nothing. The only reason we not telling y'all stuff is because it's not your business about us building our community. And that's really what it is, you know? It ain't your business about us and our community and what we trying to solve. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, forget that. You know, y'all ain't helping us anyway. So,
Wow.
you know, it's more of that. But you know, I can say that I got a strong group of black queens, you know, a strong group of black queens that you know that are there. You know what I'm saying? And we got our ins and outs on how we operate, but you know, we ain't got nothing to hide. It's not their business. You know, she
Indeed.
could have called me if she had questions. She got my cell phone, bro. You know, like she could have called me. Meanwhile, you spying on me, and I called her out on it. I did a whole press conference on it. She's like, "You got my cell phone number," you know, and you know, you was screaming Black Lives Matter when it's time for you to get an election. You know what I'm saying? And then you went ghost, and now you spying on us too. So you know, we can get deep, man, but you know, you just focus on the work. You focus on the work. Focus on your people. Build. I don't. When it comes to our leadership, man, it's more family. Like we ain't even like you know, it's family. We in the trenches. It's like we done argue, we done fight. You know what I'm saying? We done been through stuff together.
Right.
So it's more of a family type aspect.
Indeed. All right, good brother. I'm gonna try to keep this to an hour so we can go
Yeah.
on IG because you know IG has their time limit. But in closing,
Sure.
brother, drop your contact information and and it's been an honor, very informative. You taught me something because I've never heard the Coast Guard being involved in those kind of operations. I'm definitely going to research that. But yeah, drop your contact information and any closing points you might have.
Fact. I'm Chuck King on Facebook. It's Chuck King. Um, South Carolina Black Activist Coalition for any kings and queens in South Carolina looking to do anything in your community. We got the Black Parent Association, that's education. We got the New Black Cross, that's healthcare. There'll be clinics and stuff like that. We got the Black Flags Defense Group. That's where we train, practice, you know, community watches, searches, and stuff like that. SC Black Gazette is our newspaper. That's online. www.scblackgazette.com. Um, I'm on Twitter, Creature61914. But mainly, you know, the coalition, and then brothers and sisters in North Carolina, you know, we check. But of course, you know, if you're about the cause, you're more than welcome to join the coalition Facebook group as well. You know, because
Indeed.
we neighbors, you know, we family, so we take honor in that, you know. So other than that, man, just everybody can do something. That's always my preaching point.
Mhm.
Everybody can do something. I don't care if you a grandma sitting in the house. I don't care if you a teenager that's 14 or a queen that's 14. There's something in your community that you can do. The more people we have involved in the collective, the better. You know, don't ever think that, you know, you have to know something to do it or be shy. Ask questions, you know, especially if you in this state. There's work for you to do right now. But every king and queen can do something for their community. A lot of times our people don't get active because they don't know what to do.
Right.
You know, they be sitting around like, oh man, I want to help, but you know, you got so many people focused on, you know, marches and protests, but not telling our people what to do. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Or telling our people how to operate. So everybody can do some work, whether it's 2 hours a month, whether it's, you know, an hour, or whether you on the ground every week. You know what I'm saying? So again, the South Carolina Black Activist Coalition, our Facebook group. You know, we here to help. You know what I'm saying? We don't do a lot of work out of state, but if you need us, call us. That's, you know, kind of the wave we on. You know?
I appreciate you, good brother. And like I said, it's been an honor. Salute to the work you and your coalition were doing. So stay in contact, brother, and definitely send me those links.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you right now, bro.
All right. As always, we leave with the Black Messiah motto: stop waiting for a savior and be one. Shalom. Peace, brother.
Peace, brother. Take care.